Everybody, welcome to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch podcast here on the Rock Pile this morning. We're back, or should I say, I'm back. I believe we're going to have the stat man on here shortly. And then Coach Medicis has a hoop game today. They're at Syracuse Academy of Science, another big game. They got a tough three-game stretch. They had a double overtime loss to Proctor the other night on Friday, and then they'll play today against Syracuse Academy. Who they played them at their showcase tournament. I think Coach RFA won by about 4 or 5 points in that game. So that's a tough stretch. And then they play Tuesday night at home against a really, really, really good CVA team. So that game is at home on Tuesday night. So I'm not sure we'll have him on today. Pags has hockey, but we will have the stat man on here in just a little bit. Let me give you the lineup today for guests. At about 9:15, we're going to have the director and founder of CNY Savage, Coach Matt St. Croix is going to join us at about 9:15. And then at about 9:50 or so, one of my all-time favorite guests, we've had him on for probably the last, 8 years, the former University of Albany men's basketball coach. He is the current women's basketball coach at the College of St. Rose. We'll talk to Will Brown at about 9:50. For podcast listeners, the podcast now, any show from the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch and the Rock Pile will be on Spotify. So you can follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Spotify now on the podcast for podcast listeners. It was a huge day in college basketball yesterday. I stayed up a little bit when we got home last night to see the ending of Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Zags just aren't playing well. Zags just this year. And I think there's more parity this year in college basketball. But I think some teams yesterday made a statement in college basketball. And I'll run through the top 25 scores here in just a second. But the Zags got beat St. Mary's. That's the big rivalry game in the West Coast Conference. Every year it seems like it's either St. Mary's or Gonzaga that wins the WCC tournament, who I think this year, I think the WCC is probably 4 or 5 teams deep. Now, they're not going to get 4 or 5 teams in the NCAA tournament. And for the first time in probably 20 years, I think Gonzaga's got to win the tournament to get in. They don't have any quad one wins. Non-conference schedule, they didn't really have that key win as they usually do in the past. So I think that's going to be a really fun tournament to watch. The Zags will go play at St. Mary's. Seems like they split every year. The Zags just don't have any NBA guys. When you watch Gonzaga over the last 20 years, they always have that NBA type player. This year, don't have it. But they're still good. It's just not the same old Zags that we're used to seeing. I think the stat man's just joined us. So let's see if we get this. Oh, there you are. I got to lower it. You're loud.
Sorry.
You're a little dark. I can't see it too well, but I can hear you. What's going on, stat man?
Nothing. I just got back from church.
Did you say a prayer for me this morning?
I did. Yes, sir.
Good. I need it. I was just running through the lineup. We got our buddy Coach Brown on this morning.
Yep, I saw that.
We'll talk to Coach at about 9:50. I got to ask him because when he got the job at St. Rose, it's the women's job. He had never coached women's basketball before, but they are playing some really good basketball this year. And he's got a really, really challenging season because the College of St. Rose in December announced they're going to be closing the school at the end of the school year. So he's had to deal with some adversity there. So we'll talk to Coach, and we'll talk to Coach Matt St. Croix. Statman, you may remember Coach. He was the head men's basketball coach at MVCC. We had him on the radio numerous times. He runs a great program up at Accelerate called the CNY Savage for all ages, boys, girls. Does a really good job. We'll talk to him at about 9:15. So we'll talk some hoops. I'm going to run through the top 25. Statman, the Tar Heels with a statement win yesterday at home against the Dukies. And I was just saying my Zags got beat at home last night at the Kennel to St. Mary's by 2. Syracuse looked like Syracuse. They're tough to figure out, stat man. They either play really well or they play really bad, and Wake Forest took it to them yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
So let me run through some of these scores. So some of the scores last night, top 25, UConn looks like the number one team in the country. Again, tip your hat to Danny Hurley. They lost some guys off that team last year that won the national championship. They're still playing really well. They win 77-64 over Rick Pitino's St. John's. Carolina, as I said, statement win at home. I think Carolina is one of the best teams in the country. I think they're playing really, really well right now. They beat Duke 93-84. Kansas, big win at home over Houston. Tennessee went on the road to Kentucky and beat Kentucky in Rupp Arena last night, 103-92. Rick Barnes has another really good Tennessee team. But I feel like I say every year on Tennessee, they're always really good, but they bow out in the tournament.
Yeah.
Marquette and Shaka, another good Marquette team. They hammered Georgetown 91-57. Baylor at home over Iowa State 70-68. Cincinnati goes on the road and beats 15th ranked Texas Tech last night. Auburn and Bruce Pearl, another good Auburn team. They beat Ole Miss 91-77. San Diego State beats Utah State. Florida Atlantic put up 102 last night over Tulsa. BYU gets a win on the road at West Virginia. UCF gets a win at home. They upset Oklahoma. Alabama 99-67. In ranked games last night, Texas beat TCU in the nightcap. And then at the 10:30 game, as I said, the Zags fall in the kennel last night to St. Mary's. Sam, have you given the Super Bowl a thought yet of who you're kind of leaning next week?
Kind of leaning towards the Chiefs.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth on this. I got some keys I'll see if I can get to today before the end of the show. I feel like San Francisco is the better team if they play well, but you can't bet against Mahomes.
No, not at all.
But one thing I get, and I get the comparison with like the Chiefs and Mahomes to Brady. You know, Mahomes has been in this ACC, the Super Bowl, 6 years or 5 out of 6 years, something crazy like that. But people have to slow down before they start saying Mahomes is Tom Brady. Like, I know Mahomes is young. He's got a long career. He's already done it for, 6 years he's been in the league. He's been in the Super Bowl, I think, 4 out of 5 or some crazy stat line. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You can't start saying Mahomes is Tom Brady. He's won, 2 Super Bowls?
Yeah.
I think Mahomes has. Again, short period of time. I get it. But do you think he's the closest thing to Tom we've seen in our generation?
As of right now, yeah. I would say so.
See, I think just because the Chiefs have been there with Andy Reid and Mahomes and Travis Kelce, I think you can say that. But I think the closest one from a performance standpoint of how Brady played, I think is Joe Burrow. Pocket passer, doesn't really move too well. Tom didn't move well. Tom was great in the pocket. Mahomes is I think Mahomes is the better athlete. I think Mahomes can do some crazy things, with his legs like a lot of these quarterbacks now. But, man, how about Lamar Jackson? Did they choke in that game or what?
That was crazy.
What the hell happened?
Who knows? But, I was kind of expecting it, though. It seems like every year, he's in the conversation or the MVP winner every year, Lamar Jackson is. And then when he gets to that certain point in the playoffs, he just hasn't been able to get over the hump. So I was kind of expecting that kind of narrative to hold true this year.
I thought Baltimore by far best defense in the league. Mike McDonald's defense was fantastic in Baltimore. New offensive coordinator, and Jeff Monken, I think is the OC, or Todd Monken.
Yeah,
I always get the two
some
confused.
Running outside of Lamar Jackson, I would say.
But what I was really surprised at, though, Statman, is they put better weapons around Lamar this year. The passing game was better this year than it's ever been for him. They were, I think, top 5 in the league in rushing offense. And in that game against the Chiefs, I think they had 10 rushing attempts.
Yeah, they did. And I think 8 of them were by Lamar Jackson. I think the running backs might have touched the ball twice.
And I think they were scrambles, too. I don't even think they were called run plays. So I don't know what the heck happened, because they looked terrible. And one of the things that I didn't like was, it's almost like they were trying to prove what they try to do every year is Lamar Jackson can beat you in the pocket.
Right.
Well, Lamar Jackson didn't beat you in the pocket. He looked terrible in the pocket. His throws were off. I'm not sure why they didn't get him out of the pocket, a little bit more creative. But again, tip your hat to Kansas City. Mahomes found a way. Travis Kelce was phenomenal. And even when you watch Kansas City, my son said it too, watching a game. He goes, all they do is throw to Travis Kelce. I'm like, imagine how hard it actually is to say, you know what's coming, stop it. But I think the difference with Kansas City this year, Statman, I think Steve Spagnuolo's defense, I think it's the best Kansas City defense they've had since Mahomes has been there. Spags is always going to dial it up on second and third long. He's going to come after you. But I think that defense this year in Kansas City is the best it's ever been.
Yeah, it's definitely been helpful, and they have been a lot more stout on the defensive end of the ball this year than they have in recent memory. So yeah, it's a good call on that, definitely.
Jim Harbaugh goes to the Chargers.
Yeah, kind of makes sense. He played there, and they needed a change. They weren't getting it done, so I think that might be. I would say that might be their best chance to get over that hump and actually make a run for the Super Bowl. Is having him in place.
I don't think it was
he
any
can work
surprise.
with Herbert. I mean, Herbert. I was thinking if they didn't make a change as a head coach, I think Herbert needed to get out of there, or else he was going to do the same thing would have happened to him as Phillip Rivers. It just seems like his career was stagnant until he got out of there, and I think Herbert would have suffered the same fate had they not made a coaching change. And it's just I could see history repeating itself there too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was when people look at all the jobs that were open, and you can debate it all you want, but to me, you go where the best quarterback is, and that's Justin Herbert, and that Chargers team. He's got West Coast ties, Harbaugh. And again, if you remember, I keep not going to toot my horn, but I said in August before the season started, Jim Harbaugh would be his last season in Michigan, win or lose. He was going to the NFL, and I think it's the right fit for him. I think it's a great fit for him. He's got the quarterback. They got some key players. He makes them relevant where I could easily say they're probably a Super Bowl team next year that will compete.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't think it's any surprise. I think there were a lot of jobs that were open that were good jobs. The Washington job, they're going to have a high pick. Do you want to take a chance there in Washington? I just say in the NFL, like in college, you need a quarterback, and I think they had the quarterback, and I think that Jim Harbaugh liked them. He made it very well known throughout the year. He was a Justin Herbert fan, so I think it's a great fit for him. I don't fault him at all. Some Michigan fans are saying, "Oh, Jim, he took Jesse Minters with him, his defensive coordinator. He took the strength coach with him. He took Jay Harbaugh with him." I'm not surprised at all he took Jesse Minters with him because his brother had Mike McDonald, who was the Michigan defensive coordinator, who, by the way, is the youngest head coach in the NFL now. He got the Seattle Seahawks job. So Seattle went from having the oldest head coach in Pete Carroll to now the youngest head coach in Mike
about Bill
McDonald.
Belichick not getting a job?
Statman, you know what I think? I was talking last night. My wife and I went to Bag Square last night. Statman, I rode a bull last night, the mechanical bull.
Oh, nice.
So I had to joke with everybody that was there. I did. So
wow.
I had to joke because, my wife, her friend Kendall and Clay, like they're the big country music people. They go to the concerts and they wear the cowboy boots and all that. Mm-hmm. Statman, do you know who was on the bull the longest out of all of them?
Lindsay. You.
Me.
Oh, wow.
46 seconds.
Oh, wow.
46. Statman, I was standing when I got off the thing. There was a bunch of people around there. I'd walk into the room and the guy would go, "There he is. You want back up?" I'm like, now I walk in, I'm known for bull riding. I think Lindsay was on it for. She's not listening, so I could say it. She's not going to kill me. She hasn't listened to one of our shows in 10 years. I think Lindsay was on it for 13 seconds. I think Kendall was on it for like 5 or 6 seconds. I think Clay was on it for maybe 10 to 12. Her friend Pam was on it for about 18 or 19. I'm not sure how long Tim was on it. The first time I did it, I was on it for, I think, 36 seconds.
Wow, good for you.
And then the second time, 40. I put on a show. I got to stand and oh.
Got the old bull. You
I
put
did.
on a bull riding clinic.
I'm a little sore today, though. My arms are sore. The legs are a little bit sore.
My Uncle Normie used to have a mechanical bull in Coleman's Rodeo Club.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They're hard, man. They're a lot harder than what they look like. I never done it. Never done it. I mean, it didn't help that I was probably 1,000 beers deep.
They also had one at Mike's son's, their 30th birthday party. I just didn't want to get on it. I was afraid that I was going to get thrown off and break my neck or something stupid. And happen. So I'm like, nah.
You're always nervous?
I'm always nervous, Coach. You know me.
So let me get back. I don't know where I was going with my point. I lost track of thought here, but I was going back and forth with some Michigan. This is what I was debating. They were talking about the Sharon Moore hire, and we got Coach St. Croix jumping on. So I'm going to go to him, and then I'll get back to my thought. I don't know how I went to bull riding from talking about Jim Harbaugh to bull riding, but let's bring Coach St. Croix on now here. Let's see if we can grab him. Hey, Coach, how are you? No, I might have lost him. Statman, I lost your camera.
Oh, I turned it off.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're just gonna have audio on Coach St. Croix, so I'll see when he jumps on again.
Okay.
But this is what I was saying about the Sharon Moore hire. Mm-hmm. I think it was the easy hire to try to keep that program intact. Now they're going to have some new coaches. They're going to have a new coordinator, but everybody was from within, which I think that was the easy move. But here's where people don't like when I say this, and I'm a Michigan guy, you know this, is the games that Sharon Moore filled in for, okay, Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, 3 huge games, right? I mean, the game is the biggest game. The Penn State game, I think they found out as they were getting off the bus that there was going to be no Jim Harbaugh. Let's hold my thought against that, man. Let's go to Coach here. Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think I can now, Rocky.
Awesome. I got you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Not too bad. Good to have you on. I appreciate you taking the time.
No worries. Awesome to be here.
Well, Coach, I think the last time we had you on, you were the head basketball coach at MV when we were on the radio show.
It's been that long, huh?
I think it has been. I'm not sure. I had to go back and look, so it's good to have you back.
It's great to be here. So that was, obviously a few years ago.
Yeah. So, Coach, let's talk about the CNY Savage, because I know for some of the listeners that aren't too familiar with it. First, I wanted to ask you, where'd you come up with the name for it, and where was the idea around this program?
The funny part is I've been asked that many times, and it kind of happened during COVID. My daughters, who you've met, two of the 3.
Yep.
They're 11 and 12 are the older ones, and when they were about 8 or 9 years old, COVID was going on, and there wasn't a ton of opportunities basketball wise. And so we were trying to do some different things that would create opportunities for kids. Long story short, we ended up, started training some kids and, doing some different things that, would allow us to, be involved basketball wise. And what ended up happening was we started CNY Savage. So that was really with them. That was a really big push by them, and allowed us to really be involved with Savage, totally created by them. They came up with the name and everything. And, it's kind of funny. You had 8 and 9-year-old girls, and, they're really the ones that were coming up with the name Savage. So kind of an interesting way to do it. But, it's kind of grown from there. And, that's kind of really where it got started.
And Coach, I got to ask you a question from being a college coach and coaching for as long as you did. Do you miss the actual coaching part?
People ask me that all the time. Certainly when you do something long enough, I was fortunate to be the coach at NBCC for 16 years and, college basketball coach for close to 20. So, I think there's certain parts of it that I miss, obviously the camaraderie with the players and, your coaching staff and things like that. I think I've kind of found my basketball, fix in other ways though, having an opportunity to work with my daughters and, right now I'm coaching with the New Hartford varsity team. Coach Richards has been good to, have me come on and be able to work with him. So I'm getting my basketball fix in other ways. It's definitely, different. I think, being a head coach and, doing it for so long, but I think, time wise, family wise, just the opportunity to coach your own kids. I think I've, really found something that's, working for my family and working for me and for my girls at the same time. So I do miss parts of it, but, long story short, I think I found a good mix in here.
I will say it's hard, coach, because I was the head football coach at Sequoia for a while, and then I got out of being the head coach just because of my work schedule and my son now, who's 12, my daughter is 7 and busy with sports. I got out because I wanted to watch my kids play. But I got to say this: coaching basketball is a lot harder than coaching football. And the football guys that probably listen to me are going to yell at me. It's not easy. We might have lost him again, Statman.
Uh-oh.
No, it's okay. We'll get him back. He's on the audio, which is okay. We'll get him back on here. He's I think he's in the car. He was running some errands with his kids, so we'll get him back on here in just a moment. But Statman, as I was going in there with him, and I'll say it again, like the basketball piece is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
I'm surprised to hear you say that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any sport though. Like you got to have a game plan in. It's like in football, you got to have a goal line offense in, a goal line defense. You got to have your special teams in. It's no different. Like the preparation is no different. The only thing is like with basketball is here's coach. Let me just pull him back on.
So sorry about that, Rocket. The last thing I heard was that you thought coaching football was more difficult than coaching basketball.
No, I actually was saying the opposite. I said for my football guys are going to yell at me because I think basketball's harder.
In what way?
I think it's tougher because it's more, to me, I feel like it's more on the fly. Like football, you still have to prepare. Like you got to have a goal line defense, a goal line offense. You got to have your special team stuff. You got to have a game plan. And basketball is the same thing, but I feel like you got to be more on the fly in basketball than you do in football.
Well, I got to be honest. I've never seen you coach football, but I've seen you. I've seen you work with your teams, with the Rome Chaos teams, and you do a fantastic job. So you're doing something right. Those kids play super hard, and I think you're doing a really good job. And I've never coached football myself. I was more of a basketball, lacrosse guy, but I think you're doing a great job with what you're doing with your 5th and 6th grade teams.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. And Coach, the CNY Savage, I think one of the things I think it's really cool about it is it's all ages, boys, girls, and I was just saying this in Rome the other day is I think that what we need at this age, even the 6th grade team that I have, and from watching some of the younger kids, I feel like the skill part has kind of gone away. And it's nice to see that you guys are kind of bringing that back. So I feel like everybody just wants to scrimmage. They want to get up and down. And it's like, you still need the basics. So can you talk a little bit about like when you guys offer the skills piece?
Absolutely. So we're really big on that part of it, and that's how a lot of our girls, got started. And so what we do is we do it Monday nights. We have a skills academy that's for all ages. We have kindergarten all the way up to, high school kids. 5 o'clock is for the younger kids. So that's like kindergarten to 4th grade. And then we do 5th through 12th grade at 6 o'clock. So that's our skills academy. We do bring in an opportunity for kids to play. We do that on Thursday nights, but we try to focus on, the things that happen in games that, kids will have issues with or be able to have success with. So that there's some carryover between the skills part that they learn into what, they're doing in games. So try to make it, really applicable to whatever age and whatever talent level these kids have. We do that. We also do some different, training. We have a Diaper Dandies program, which is on Saturday mornings. And my little one who we have a 3rd daughter and she's 2. So she takes part in that. That's for the really little kids. That's for, 2 and 3, 4 and 5. And, that's more of a, you guys use that chaos term. That's more like organized chaos when you're talking, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds. So those are the really skills part of it. We also have camps. We have over February break. We have it's actually a February break camp Thursday and Friday at Accelerate Sports. And we always bring in station work. We bring in a lot of coaches. I have different coaches that are either, former college coaches, high school coaches, current college players. We're really big on bringing in people that are quality people that know what they're doing and, really work well with the kids. And we're really big on the stations, and making sure that they have that base for the skills, because as and, as you're seeing with all the success that, especially Rome, I mean, you guys, for boys, girls, you guys are having a ton of success right now. And I think that's a credit to all the work you guys have done with your youth programs and getting them playing young. And we have that same philosophy here, and, just trying to, do it here as well.
Yeah, I think our kids get frustrated, and I have to keep reminding our kids is that they're a school team, and they get frustrated when they play. As you know, Coach, when you play some of the AU teams that are, they're some of the best talent wise, on a team. And I keep saying, guys, you're a school team that as you get older, the benefits of playing together will help you guys, and the competition's always better, right?
Yeah, and I think you guys are definitely, keeping that in perspective. I think that's something that is, very important, is that it's not always about the wins and losses. It's about, the experience and, trying to, there's some value in having all of those players play together. We're currently trying to do that with a lot of our New Hartford girls, is, keeping them together and,
Hmm.
just see the success that, Coach Medicis is having. He's had a lot of success, but especially this year, all those guys have played together, and I think there's a lot of value to that. And I think people get, so hyped up with these AAU tournaments and, different weekend things about winning the medal or winning the T-shirt, and it's not always about that. It's about what did we get better, did we have fun, and then just like keeping it in perspective, it is going to pay off for you, and I think you guys are doing it the right way.
Coach, talk to us about that downtown classic. I mean, that was an awesome event. I know you had the boys, the girls, you had the youth games there as well. I thought the experience was awesome. I know Coach Medicis loved it. Talk to us about I mean, it had to be a lot to put that together. I mean, I would love to see the sectionals there at some point, maybe the state tournament. How'd you come up with that idea?
It's funny. As we've done a lot of tournaments, and, mostly AAU, and school-based tournaments for the youth. With my full-time job at MVCC, I took my sports management program over to the Nexus Center, and we went over there. We visited. We had a chance to kind of see what the ins and outs were, and we were just blown away with the facility, with how everything was set up. And I think if for anybody that's been there, or had a chance to go to the tournament, you would have a chance to see what it's all about. And so I kind of just raised the question, like, have you ever done basketball? You ever think about basketball? And they never really had. It's, as Utica's a really big hockey place, and
Yeah.
it's really a hockey facility. But I said, wouldn't it be cool to maybe try to bring basketball downtown? And I know years ago they had it at the Odd, and for different things, but I thought this was a cozier venue, a chance to really bring, high school basketball. So, we got that idea. And then Harley Fuller, who is the current coach at MVCC, him and I, work closely together with some of our tournaments. He was former assistant at Siena, and, has some really good connections to the Albany area. So he said, why don't we try to bring in some Albany teams and bring in some different, experiences here. And, it went pretty well. For the first time, I think we got our feet wet. We learned, what we need to do to make this a yearly thing. And, we're hoping to continue it going forward. I think it's a great thing for basketball for the area, and, would love to, build off of what we did this year and, try to make this a yearly thing.
Well, I was kind of selfish because my kids never got involved in hockey, probably because it's too early in the morning, but and they're on the road a lot. But I said, you know what? I said it's always hockey there. It's good to see another sport, and it was great to see basketball. The crowd was great. It's just the overall atmosphere was a little cold in there, but
Little
great atmosphere for the kids.
little chilly. We were telling some of the moms and said, hey, we'll give you hand warmers next year or something like that. But I think it was a good experience altogether. That's something that we can that we can build off of. I talked to Coach Medicis. We'd love to get RFA back, and Proctor, and some of these local schools that are travel really well, create that really good basketball experience. I don't know about sectionals, whether that would be something, but I just think there's a lot of really good basketball in our area, and it'd be great to keep some things here locally, to be able to give the fans and the parents and the players a chance to have those types of experiences.
Coach, the last thing I was going to ask you, did you think when you got the CNY Savage started, you would actually grow it to as big of an event as it is now?
That's a funny thing. To be honest,
Because I feel like it
we,
just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Did you ever think it'd get this big?
to be honest, I know I've talked to you about it a little bit. No, I mean, we didn't really have a plan when we started. We were really just trying to, create opportunities, especially, for my own kids, and that was, it kind of branched out and it's gone pretty well. And, we're just trying to, like we said, continue to do it the right way, keep it in perspective, try to have the focus of, getting kids better and, creating opportunities for them. And, I think the one thing that, we've tried to, and my good friend Rob Schoner always says, you don't get better in the car, right? So like, rather than traveling out to like Albany or Syracuse all the time, like, can we create some things here where the kids can get better in the gym, and like get better here? So, that's the thing that we always try to focus on is it's about the kids and creating those opportunities and, hoping we can continue to keep it going.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you always including us and reaching out. We love it. And I don't know if you have the time, but once College Hoops, the tournament comes, we're always doing a show on March Madness. You're welcome to come on and talk hoops.
Oh, that's great. I would love to. I love March Madness. I love talking basketball. So if you'd have me on, I would love to come back on the show.
Awesome, Coach. Listen, I appreciate the time. Have a good weekend, and I'm sure we'll see you up at Accelerate.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Keep in touch, guys.
You got it. Thanks,
right.
Coach.
Bye.
Yeah, Statman, I don't know if you know much about that CNY Savage that he does, but Matt does a great job with that program and building that program. And I'll say that for people that heard about the classic that was at the Nexus Center was awesome. It was such a great experience for the kids. It was high school. They had the boys, girls games there. RFA played there. And then on Sunday, he had the youth games, and we played two teams. We won one and lost one. But playing in that gym was like, it was awesome because it's an ice rink. Like I had never been in there. I had heard about it, and it's literally 2 sheets of ice. The place is huge.
Wow.
Like it's huge. There's like a bar up there. There's everything there. And to know you're playing on top of the ice was crazy. And it was cold. It was cold in there. But it was great. He's done a great job, so we'll have to get him on again. He's always fun to talk some hoops with. But let me go back to – I got to finish my Michigan point here, Statman.
Sure.
And then I can't wait to talk to Coach Brown. I'm fired up to get him on this morning.
Yeah, right.
Is the Sharon Moore was the easy hire, right, for Michigan? Easy. Plug and play, try to keep the team together. I think they're going to probably set the record for most players drafted in the NFL. I think they're going to have at least 26, 28 players that are going to get drafted. They're going to be okay next year. They're not going to be what they were this year. Some new coordinators. They got a brutal schedule next year, but they'll be okay. But here's what I say. Sharon Moore filled in for Jim Harbaugh under tough conditions, but he had a veteran team that had a lot of experience. That basically you didn't have to do much. He was the play caller, and I think he did a really good job calling plays. They have a really good coordinator in Jesse Minners, who's now going to go with Harbaugh to the NFL. So I think Jim Harbaugh deserves credit for the coaching staff that he put in. Now, I'm not saying that I could have ran the team, but it's a lot easier when you got that experience around you to run a team.
Absolutely.
Now,
and going back to what you said about how many players they're putting into the NFL, I mean, think back like 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't really say that. I mean, they were like, as far as historically Michigan guys going to the NFL, they were really in a low spot for a while there before Harbaugh came in and took over.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Statman, I was the one on the radio that said fire him. At one point, I said it's probably time to get rid of him. I don't know. I was like, I thought Jim Harbaugh when he got the job, and I said this about Scott Frost when he got the job at Nebraska. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for Scott Frost. But I said it's the best hire. He's a Michigan man, played for Bo Schembechler. Dad was an assistant coach for Bo Schembechler. I mean, you can't script it any better. It's like a movie. Yeah. They struggle a little bit. I think the COVID year, I think they were like 2-4 or something crazy. And then something just clicked. He went back to the trenches. He went back to what he's known, be physical, on offense, be physical on defense up front. Let's run the football like he's always done. And I think the one thing he did was he brought in 2 defensive coordinators. At first, Mike McDonald, who he got from his brother at the Ravens, came in with a style that I think it's a style fitted for the spread offense, which is fitted to stop the Ohio State University.
Yep.
So then Mike McDonald goes back to Baltimore, which was probably expected. I'm sure Jim and his brother talk and said, Jim, I'll give you him, but he's not going to be there long because I want him back. And then they go get Jesse Minter, who was another Ravens assistant, to basically run the same defense. So I think Jim deserves a lot of credit for what he brought in. I still think, and I'll say it, I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the country, but I think he's one of the best coaches, football guys. He won in the NFL. He's won everywhere he's been.
Stanford of all places.
He's won at Stanford. He won at San Diego. He did what everybody thought he would do. Now, maybe it took him a little bit longer at Michigan, I think, what people thought. I think people thought when he got the job year 1 and 2, he was going to come in and they're going to go win a national championship. Not that easy. I did, right? So I don't begrudge him. I think he did everything he was supposed to do. He left Michigan, and people can say the sign stealing, they're going to get the national championship's going to get vacated. Listen, whatever you want to say, that's your own opinion. I still think A-Rod belongs in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds, they use steroids. Big whoop-de-doo. But I think he's been a winner everywhere he's been. But I think the player development, too, has been really good. They don't get a lot of 5 stars. When you looked at their roster, I think for the national championship game and for the teams that made the playoffs, I think they had the least amount of 5-star guys. They were all 3 stars, 3 and 4-star guys. So I think the Sharon Moore was the easy hire. We'll see what they do next year. Going to have 2 new coordinators. They play Texas, they play Washington, they play Ohio State, they play Oregon, they play USC. The schedule is brutal next season. But I still think they'll be Michigan. I don't think too much is going to change in that. How about Syracuse? I know I said this before, and nobody really has given me an answer. Where the hell are they getting their money from?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you that. I don't know how they're managing to pull all these guys that they're getting in.
Like, I think Mediza sent us a TikTok thing this morning. I think you're on that group. You probably say, "Will these guys shut up and leave me alone?" Because we're always talking basketball or something crazy.
I had to turn off the notifications for
Yeah.
it because it was just like it would bang like constantly, like at all hours of the day. We'd get like 10 messages and bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, you never know what time it's going to bing at. I think last night I got one at like 11 or 11:30.
Yeah.
But Statman, I'm not going to jump the gun, but they don't play Florida State. They don't play Clemson. I don't think they play. No, they play Miami, I think, next year.
Yeah.
There's a realistic chance they could be in the ACC title game, and some people are saying Cuse may be in the playoff.
They could be.
Playoffs?
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule sets up pretty easy. The schedule's there. They got the players from the portal. They got the quarterback. Now we got to see if they could coach. I think that's going to be the big key. But he's got 3 of the best recruiters, including himself, in the country. I mean, I can't remember when, and I'm going to be honest with you, every time I get on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter a lot now. I don't even really get on much on Facebook anymore. I'm on Twitter now a lot. And every time I see, like, this guy's entered the portal, I see Syracuse's freaking logo as a destination. And I'm sitting here saying, where the hell are these guys getting the money from?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, these guys that are coming there can't be coming in for more than a couple years.
Yeah, well, I think
or maybe a year.
Maybe, yeah. But that's how things are in all college football right now. Basically, you're going to see most of the time you're going to see these guys come in for a year or two, try to make a splash, try to see if they can get into the playoff, and then after that that's off to the league. But
well, I know one thing: Ryan Day's got a lot of pressure to win football games next year.
Yeah, he does. He
They
does.
went out and got, I mean, they're going to be loaded next year. The entire team basically came back. They basically went out and got every big name player in the portal. They got like 13 quarterbacks that are all 5 stars coming in. They got the running back from Ole Miss to go along with Travion Henderson. So the running back room is going to be loaded. If he doesn't win next year, well, let's just say this. If he loses the game again for the 4th consecutive year, which right now I think early Vegas has Ohio State as an 8-point favorite at home, I think it's national championship or bust for him.
Yeah, I would say that's fair, definitely.
And then I think it's Mike Vrabel.
Take Mike Vrabel.
Take Mike Vrabel. How about him? How about he didn't get a job?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was surprised at that one too.
They keep saying Bill Belichick, and here's what I was going to go because we brought that up, and then I went into the bull riding, which I'm really not sure how I transition that way. But I'll go back to my point. There's some part of me that thinks if Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl, that Andy Reid goes off into the sunset and retires, and Bill Belichick becomes the next coach of the Kansas City Chiefs.
It looks like that would be the only way that Belichick gets a job in the NFL at this point. I mean, for that.
Or I keep saying that next year, if the Eagles don't make a run, that I can see them parting ways with Nick Sirianni, and maybe he's the next coach of the Eagles. Or does Jerry, in Jerry's world, if Dallas don't make a run, does Mike Holmgren finally out in Dallas?
You mean not Mike Holmgren?
Mike McCarthy. Yeah, Mike McCarthy.
Yep. Yeah, I can see it. It's definitely a possibility, but I mean that might be the only way Belichick gets a job in the NFL at this point, as if one of those 2 scenarios were to shake out.
When you look at the NFL, and I was looking at to go back to Mike McDonald that got the head job in Seattle. I think he's like 34 years old, and I'm sitting here saying I can't imagine being 30-something years old and being a head coach in the NFL or at any level, really. But you look and see like a guy like Pete Carroll, who there's a lot of mixed things on Pete Carroll. I read a bunch of articles that said he told ownership midway through the year that he wanted to retire, and then late in the season he changed his mind, and the ownership said it was already too late. Pete Carroll, I still think wants to coach, but when you look across the NFL now, Statman, I feel like the coaching carousel is starting to get younger. And again, I'm not the HR guy would say the age. You can't say age, but Bill Belichick's getting older. Pete Carroll's in his 70s, right? For these other franchises, I mean, when Tom Brady left New England, the Patriots haven't been very good.
No.
I think Belichick's record is about 500, maybe a little bit under 500. But I say it all the time is you need a quarterback in the NFL. Mac Jones wasn't the quarterback in New England. Bailey Zapp or whatever the guy's name was. Zappy was not the guy. So I think you have to go where there's a quarterback. But the point I'm trying to make is I think the coaching carousel, I think they're getting younger. So I think the guys like Belichick, Pete Carroll, I still think Mike Vrabel is a damn good football coach. And I know Ohio State fans don't want to hear me say it. Some might, some not. I keep saying Mike Vrabel will be the next head coach at Ohio State. And Seabus says I'm crazy every time I say it, that he doesn't want to deal with recruiting. He is the ideal fit for Ohio State and the way the Big Ten goes. But I just don't know if a lot of these guys want to deal with the NIL and the portal anymore.
Yeah.
Look at Jeff Hafley, the Boston College coach. He's done a fantastic job in, 3 years? He's going to be the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. He's leaving.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see more guys like the Jim Harbaughs that jump to the NFL. I think you're going to see more college guys jump to the NFL because of that NIL, because of the transfer portal. I wouldn't want to deal with it. And then you got the damn NCAA that's coming down. I think they're coming down now on Tennessee for recruiting violations or NIL tampering. If you're going to talk tampering, you better go check Columbus and see what they're doing, because how they're getting all these players is beyond me.
At Syracuse too, if you want to.
How much money can you have?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, and then you got Prime. You know, they went out and got some line. I think Colorado's going to be good next year. I don't know if they're playoff team like everybody's saying and all that, but again, I just feel like these big schools are at such an advantage over the smaller schools that they can just get a blank check and say, all right, you know, Will Howard, you know, what do you want? How much you want? You got up to $500,000. Kyle McCord said that Ohio State wouldn't pay him enough money, but yet you're going to come to Syracuse and play here?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
What's the Newhouse School of Broadcasting, like guaranteeing him a broadcasting job at the end of his school year?
I don't know, man. It's wild.
Yeah, I just don't get it. But listen, hats off, man. I think Fran Brown, I think Syracuse knew that was going to be one of the reasons why they hired him, was because of the recruiting thing. And listen, I think it's a great approach by the AD over there. I think, what is it, John Wildcheck there, or Wildhack, the AD? I think it was a great move, even though I'm a Bob Chesney guy. Which, how bad does this stink for him? The Boston College job just opened. Now, remember, he was the head coach at Holy Cross in Mass, and everybody said that if the Boston College job came open, he's probably your guy. Now, he takes the JMU job, and now everybody's saying that Chesney's a candidate for Boston College. I think the JMU job's a better job than Boston College, but I don't know. Boston College may have better I don't know. But what are the chances that happens? He gets the job at JMU. Hafley leaves to go be the defensive coordinator. That job's open. Now I'm hearing Bill O'Brien may leave Ohio State as the offensive coordinator to take the head job at Boston College.
Wow.
So I don't know. A lot of things changing. We'll have to see. But you got to tip your hat to Cuse for going outside the box. I never in a million years thought that they would go that direction. I don't think anybody knew who the guy was.
No, myself included.
But now he's going to come in. I mean, a lot of expectations now with these players. I mean, especially now with McCord coming in. They're good. They should be.
He's your starter day one, I would think, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to beat him out?
Yeah, that's right. Now that Schrader's gone, I mean, Del Rio Wilson's not going to have a shot.
No.
Unseat him, there'd be no way.
Dude, Kyle McCord doesn't even have to show up. He could show up on Saturdays with no practice. He's your quarterback on Saturdays.
Yep.
They guaranteed it to him. They had to.
Yeah, you would think, right?
That, from what I heard, that's the reason why he left Ohio State, was he wanted the guarantee from Ryan Day that he would be the starting quarterback. And he also apparently wanted more money, more NIL money, which they got that Aaron Nolan kid coming in. That's supposed to be a 5-star recruit. They got Will Howard, the kid from Kansas State. And they just got another quarterback. I think they got like 3 or 4 guys. I mean, they're going to have a really deep quarterback room, and they're going to be deep at every position next year, Ohio State. So they're going to be fun to watch. So we'll see pressure on Ryan Day. We're just waiting. We got a couple minutes. We're just waiting. We're waiting for Coach Brown. I can't wait to talk some hoops with him. And I remember when we talked to him when he got this job, because any college job that came open in basketball, I was always looking to see which job. And I still think we'll see Coach back on the sidelines next year. And I know that'll be a question I'm going to ask him now, is what's the plan at the end of this season once the university shuts down? Does he still want to continue to coach, which I'm sure he does? He took over a team that was 11-16 the year before. And right now they're 15-4. They're in a really that Northeast Conference that they're in is a really tough conference, top to bottom. They won last night, so we'll talk to him pretty shortly. An interesting one, Statman. They went and played at Syracuse, and the one question I am going to ask Coach, they went and played a non-conference game at Vermont, which, if you remember, all the big rivalry games, big-time matchups he had against when he was at Albany. So I'm going to ask Coach what it was like to go back and and play there. So many big matchups when he was at Albany against Vermont. And Statman, the other guy we got to get on too. We got to get Coach Langle on. Colgate's right in the heart of the Patriot League right now, playing some good basketball again.
Yeah,
They look to be the team to beat again in the Patriot League to come out of that league. So we'll see. Have you been to a hoop game over there?
No.
Never? You never been to a hoop game?
No. I've been to football games and lacrosse games at Colgate, but I've never went to a basketball or a hockey game.
Yeah, they're fun. It's a great arena. Great arena. I went and saw them play Fordham there a couple times. Oh, let's see. We got Coach coming on now with us, Statman. Let me pull him on here. Hey, Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Well, this is good. This is the first time we get you on video.
I know. I have a face for radio.
Me too.
How we doing?
It's good to have you back. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. It's always the day after a win is always a good day.
I hear you, Coach. And I was following the score last night, and I said, geez, hopefully we get him after a win. And I was fortunate. You guys played well. Looked like you guys dominated in the paint.
In the second half, we got off to an early start in the first quarter, and then it felt like we didn't score for about an hour. And, coming out of halftime, I think we regained our focus and we played fairly well.
Coach, I know when you got this job, we had John before, and now that you're actually, over halfway through the season, what's been some of the big differences for you going from the men's game to the women's game?
Well, there are differences for sure. I think on the women's side, as I've learned, and my players have been absolutely tremendous. They're giving me more than I'm giving them. I knew it was a below the rim game, when I took the job. So I think what you have to do is figure out what schemes and strategies will work best. You're not setting up any lob plays against a zone or out of bounds under or anything like that. Nobody's going above the rim. It's less of an isolation one-on-one game. It's more of a team game. And a couple of coaches told me this when I took the job. Listen, you're going to love it because you run 8 million offensive sets. The problem is going to be they're going to try to run those sets to the end, and then they're going to look at you and be like, Coach, what do we do now? They're going to try to appease you, make you happy, run everything the right way, whereas I found on the men's side a lot of times the men's players were so eager to break it off and make a play. So just trying to find that happy medium, that balance. I ask them every day, hey, why do we run offense? And they all look at me and say to score. So I'm like, well, let's try to score. But I'll tell you what, we're not an offensive juggernaut or an explosive offensive team, but they really embrace what our identity is. We compete, we prepare, we defend, we rebound, and we really don't waver from that. Our offense comes and goes, and sometimes, it's gone away at the wrong time. But we've always competed, defended, and rebounded. So they really embrace everything that we're doing, and they're so consumed with winning. I think that's something that, especially with the school closing, you're well aware of what's going on.
Yep.
You worry, okay, all of these kids are looking for new schools for the 24-25 season. Is this their time where they're going to get selfish and try to audition for other coaches and other programs? And our players have done none of that. Matter of fact, it's been the complete opposite. I told them, allow yourself to be recruited right now. I'm going to help you be recruited, even though we're in season. I just want to avoid you being recruited by schools in our own conference right now. I'll help the schools in our conference at the end of the season, because I think it's awkward if you walk into a gym and you're getting ready to play someone and, that coach on the other sidelines recruiting your players. Mm-hmm. That's kind of different. But it's been a lot of fun. I think more than anything, it's been more about figuring out the strategy that's going to work for us, how we want to play offensively, what we can do defensively, and just figure out who we are and go from there.
Coach, that was going to be one of my questions when you found out that the university was going to be closing. How hard has it been? And you kind of answered the question for me, but how hard has it been to try to keep the girls motivated, knowing that at the end of the season that these girls are going to have to look to play elsewhere, and even for yourself, right? I mean, you take the job your first year there. How hard has it been?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's been difficult, but I need to give our players all the credit. They have, at least with me, and we talk all the time about this, and I know they're being recruited because I'm communicating with all of these coaches. It has not been a distraction, if you can believe that. This team is consumed with winning, and they really want to do something special with the school closing. We've talked about controlling the narrative of this.
Hmm.
Let's go out with a bang. Let's make this. The program has not won in a very long time. So let's make this a special season, a season that people will remember, and let's eliminate as many distractions as possible, because the distractions are there. But, I have coaches that have reached out to me and have said, Coach, you told me to recruit this player. She's not in the portal. I'm like, yeah, because they don't care about the portal right now, and then I shoot them an email. I CC their compliance person. Hey, our kids don't need to be in the portal for you to recruit them. You have my blessing. Everyone recruit our players. But the kids just don't care about that right now. They know that I'm going to work tirelessly to make sure they're taken care of, and they'll all have places to go when it's all said and done. Um, they also understand that if we win games, they're more marketable, because on losing teams, everyone has to score. There are
Right.
no shutouts in basketball, at least not in the college level. So every team they're gonna have players that score points. Our kids are not consumed with stats; they're consumed with wins and losses, and how far we could go. Can we make the NCAA tournament? Can we potentially make a run in it? That's what's consuming them, and I think that's what makes this group so special. As
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, as far as me, I'm consumed with making sure that we win games and our players are taken care of. I'm a big boy. I'll be okay. My family will be okay. It's all about these players right now.
And coach, it seems like you got a pretty close knit. I think when I was going through your roster, I think you only had one senior. I think the rest are all underclassmen. So you inherited a team that won 11 games a year ago, and here you are now. I think you guys won what, 15 games?
Yeah, we're 15-4 right now.
What was the big turnaround? Like, was it come in, establish a winning culture, and once you experience what it's like to win, but building that program, what's been the biggest challenge and what's really helped you guys?
Well, the season ended in late February 22-23. They won 11 games. The top two scorers both entered the portal. And then fast forward, they hire me. Basically, I didn't accept the job till about July 1. So I was able to bring in our three leading scorers right now. I was able to bring those three in the late summer, and it just happened to be all local kids that transferred back home and wanted an opportunity to play in front of their family and potentially play for a program that they thought was going to win. When I took the job and I met with the players, I think the most overused word in sports is culture, because it takes so much time for it to develop. For me, the two words, well, the one were habits. We needed to create good habits / winning habits, and I think we needed to create standards. You want to say a standard, standards of excellence. That that's fine. Just standards, habits, and standards. So we have a senior class where I'm their third coach, and they've never won. So I'm careful. I promised very little, and I opened my mouth and I promised this group that we were going to win. I didn't tell them how many games we were going to win. I didn't say we were going to win a championship. All I said to them was, if you believe in what if you believe in what I'm preaching, if you embrace everything that I'm asking you to embrace, and you trust me, and trust is hard. Relationships are built on trust, and you trust me, you'll be happy with the results. You're going to go out as winners. So every day that we meet, every day that we had workouts and practices, probably 100 times we would say the word win, 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 win. It sounds simple. It sounds easy,
It's
but
hard
they
to
haven't
do.
won. They haven't won before. So I need them to hear win over, excuse me, over and over and over. And when they say it and they hear it, they start to believe it. And we had a Division I scrimmage, and I have to be honest with you, I wasn't too sure how that was going to go. I thought it could get ugly, and we won by 30. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, all right, these kids are believing. They're playing so hard. They're doing everything that I ask, and they believe. So then we turn around and we play Syracuse in an exhibition game, and Syracuse is terrific this year. And
Mhm.
we got off to a terrible start. We just couldn't make a shot. And then after the first quarter, we settled down, and we played pretty good basketball. And then we go up and play Vermont, the defending America East Conference champions, in an exhibition game, and it's a single-digit game in the fourth quarter. In Burlington, it's a tough place to play. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, we might have something here. And then we go to Pace for our first game of the year, and we lay an egg. And I'm like, oh, what just happened? This is not the team that I saw, the two exhibition games in our scrimmage. And what happened is, first real game, they tried too hard. And we learned so much. We had a great film session. And from that point on, we've been rolling in the right direction. I think every team stubs their toe every once in a while. We have 4 losses. We've exceeded expectations, but our kids really believe. We were picked 11th in the league. There's only 12 teams in the league. We're sitting at 15-4. And, we continue to talk about, our toughest opponent is ourselves. We have to eliminate self-inflicted mistakes. That's something that, we're trying to do. We have too many wasted possessions right now. And I think a lot of it, we can control moving forward. But our kids come to work every single day. They're a pleasure to coach. We have a terrific president in Marsha White, an unbelievable athletic director in Lori Anktel, and they've been so supportive. They've supported me. First time I've coached, women's basketball, and there are differences, especially with personalities and how they handle different situations. So it's been a good learning experience for me. But we've got tremendous support, and as you mentioned, it's a shame that the school's closing for so many reasons. For the faculty and staff that are working there, for the regular student population, for the student athletes. I really felt that if we had another year with the way I thought recruiting was going to end up, we can take this program from where it's at right now, which is in a really good place. I thought it would skyrocket because we had a couple of kids in the portal that wanted to come, and we had 5 of our top 6 expected to return. One of those, Kat Finity, who's our best defender, she had more eligibility remaining, but she's applied to PhD programs all over the country. Obviously, she's a lot smarter than I am. I'm not sure I would have been able to talk her into staying, but I thought we were on the verge of having something really special, and you know what? We are. I mean, these kids are doing great things. A lot of these kids are local kids. That's something that I think is special as well. We have a lot of kids in the lineup that are from Section 2, and that was going to be a priority for us
Mhm.
with recruiting on the girls' side. Section 2 really strong in basketball. So, but it is what it is. We're making the most out of a very difficult situation. Tremendous support. Crowds have been pretty good. Community people starting to come in and support the team. So, we're just going to charge forward and see how many we can win and how far we can go.
Coach, I feel like you got my script here behind the scenes because I was going to ask you. You were in that gym in Burlington for a long time, a lot of big games when you were in that American East Conference. What was it like to go back?
Yeah, it's funny that you said that. My wife and my older son said to me when I told them we were going to play that game, they asked me if I was crazy. Why would you put yourself through that after what you went through there? Because rivalries are not determined by one SUNY school playing another, or schools 5 miles down the road from each other. Rivalries are formed by playing meaningful games against each other. And Vermont and Albany have played, during my tenure at Albany, played championship games against each other that determined who was going to go to the NCAA tournament. So we walked into some hostile environments there. They walked into hostile environments, at Albany. So I thought it was going to be a lot different. It was nice when I walked in there. The staff that worked there came up and said hello to me, talked to me. Some of the fans, hey coach, good to see you. But what was pretty cool is Tom Brennan showed up
Oh,
to
nice.
the game, the longtime men's coach there. And we actually delayed the start of the game. We were standing at half court in front of the scorer's table talking, and the referees came over. And I don't think any of the referees knew my background or Coach Brennan's background, but they were like, hey, we've got a college basketball game that was supposed to start about 5 minutes ago. Coach, can you take your bench, and whoever you are, can you go sit under the basket? Yeah, so, and then he stayed for the entire game, and we continued our
That's
conversation
awesome.
afterwards. So, it was neat. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. And, it was our kids played well, and Vermont's women's program is terrific. So it was a good day.
Coach, the last thing, and I could talk, I feel like I could talk to you all day about basketball. Unfortunately, I'm up against the time here, but the last thing I wanted to ask you about was your guys' conference, top to bottom, is a tough conference. I mean, even the middle of the pack teams, is some of the teams, below 500. It's tough top to bottom.
Yeah, it's the best Division II women's basketball conference in the Northeast, and as good as you'll find on the East Coast. And we're sitting at 15-4, and I look at, you have teams like Bentley, Assumption, and Southern New Hampshire, who are all NCAA tournament teams. So there's a lot of work to be done from our end, and then every game is a challenge. I've talked to our team about making sure we defend our home court and then go on the road and find ways to steal games. And we're not sneaking up on anyone anymore. As I told our players, team, programs are highlighting this game. We've opened some eyes. We're going to get everyone's best shot moving forward. So, but as I've learned, this is a tremendous conference. I knew a lot about it on the men's side. Didn't know enough about it on the women's side. I would expect that 4 teams, potentially 5, will play in the NCAA tournament from our conference. I think that's how good it is, how competitive it is. Good coaches, good programs, and good players. So, every night's a challenge. So for me now, today is all about learning as much as I can about St. Michael's. We play them on Wednesday.
Mhm.
Have to make sure our team is prepared and ready tomorrow, and we just continue to charge forward. We gotta stay focused.
Coach, you got a Super Bowl pick for next week?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to see the Chiefs win, but I look at the 49ers skill positions and I'm like, they're loaded, absolutely loaded. And I would feel a lot better if Kansas City would have scored a point in the second half against the Ravens. So it feels like it's Mahomes and Kelsey's offense. It's the two of them against McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, Samuel. So I think what'll be great is to see how Purdy handles the Super Bowl, because I have to believe the Chiefs are going to come after him early and often. If I had to make a pick, I would say the 49ers. I would like to see the Chiefs win, because what's Travis Kelce going to do next in the celebration? And then how much Taylor Swift are we going to see, right? You know what? Everybody's there's a lot of people out there, crushing the NFL for all the airtime they're giving Taylor Swift. How about the 4 or 5 million that she's brought to the game?
Oh, yeah.
I saw something interesting on social media about all the young girls who are watching football with their dads now, just because they want to
Mhm.
see, her once or twice. It's
Yep, I
crazy,
agree.
right? When you
It's
think
abs
about it. But I'm going to go. What about you? Who do you have in the game?
I haven't picked it yet. I keep saying it's tough to go against Mahomes. He just
Yep.
finds a way to make plays. But something about the Brock Purdy story, Mr. Irrelevant, and I love San Francisco's run game. I'm going to probably lean San Francisco, but
Yep.
then I also just said that I can see that if Kansas City wins, maybe Andy Reid rides off into the sunset and Bill Belichick's the new coach for Kansas City, maybe.
Oh, that might push Kelsey and Mahomes into retirement.
Oh,
But what's interesting is with Purdy, the poor guy's not going to get any credit no matter what.
nope.
That's what I don't understand. You talk about the weapons around him. He still has to get him the ball. He still
Mhm.
has to read defenses. He still has to make plays. And, they call him a game manager. Call him whatever you want. I mean, he's a game away from being a Super Bowl
Mhm.
champion. And he's throwing touchdown passes. I mean, it's not like he's just handing the ball off.
Nope.
He's making reads, he's making plays. So, I just hope I hope he plays well, because if he doesn't, you can imagine what everyone's going to talk about. I just hope it's a high scoring game.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
it
I'm
will
hoping
be.
for. Like I said, again, the Chiefs got to score at least 3 in the second half, and I'm not sure that's going to be good enough.
Yeah, I would agree, coach. We'll have to
Well,
see. I'll have to
and
give
more
my
importantly, before you cut me off, because you always ask me this, who do you have winning a national title in college hoops? And then who's a team that you think can make some noise that nobody's talking about? So I'll beat you to the punch with that.
I was going to jump there too. That you must have my script, and I didn't send you any questions, but I didn't get to half my stuff with you.
Well, you've had me on enough, so I've got the routine down, so I'm prepared.
All right, who you got?
I have UConn winning it again,
Okay.
because I think they're the most consistent team, and I don't think Purdue's perimeter could make enough shots over 6 games, even though I love Zach Edey. And my wild card pick, which will get a lot of laughs and chuckles, is Michigan State. I think
can
they're
see
a
it.
team that nobody's going to want to play, and I don't think there's a dominant team in college hoops right now. And with the Zags losing last night, I'm not sure they're even going to get in this year, which is disappointing.
Yeah, I got my Zags sweatshirt on over here, and I said this to me. It's interesting this year because I think the West Coast Conference this year has 3 or 4 really good teams.
Yep.
Now we all know it's going to probably be a one-team league bid to get in, but I
Doesn't get
feel
any
like
respect, the league.
exactly. But I feel like this year, like for Mark Few and the Zags, they really are missing that NBA guy that I
Yes.
think they've always had, and they don't have it this year.
They have a very nice college team right now.
Yep.
And to be honest, I think Gonzaga and St. Mary's both should be in the NCAA tournament, and nobody's would want to play either of them, even though this isn't that Gonzaga team that we're all used to seeing. I think both of those teams are really good, and I'm not sure if it's Santa Clara or San Francisco. One of those two are having a really good year as well. So as you mentioned, there's several teams in that league. The problem is the signature wins. St. Mary's had a couple of tough non-conference
Mhm.
losses, as did Gonzaga. So, but this might be the most wide open. I just think UConn's been the most consistent. If they can keep clinging healthy, I think they have to be the favorite.
Well, Coach, we'll have to talk some March Madness when we get closer.
Well, hopefully we're a
Um,
part of it, but
I
I'd love to jump back on and talk some college hoops for sure.
all right, Coach, you got it. Best of luck. We'll continue to follow you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, talk soon.
One of my favorite guys.
Oh, absolutely. He was fantastic.
I can talk sports with him all day.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because
basketball too. Yeah,
it's so funny because you guys can't see it, but I have like my notes and some of my script on the side of my screen here.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, like, literally everything he talked about, I was crossing off saying, "Shit, where am I going to go next?"
yeah. Especially the last one when you're like, "Who's the dark horse? Who do you want to win the title?" I'm like, "That's why I love this guy right here."
Yeah, he had all my stuff. I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't even get a chance to get to all of it." But well, Statman, we're out of time. It's fun to jump on. Coach St. Croix was fantastic, and Coach Brown never disappoints.
Ever.
Always finds time to come on when we reach out to him. We'll definitely, Statman, one of my big guests coming on. I haven't really even announced it yet, but you're going to be the first to hear it.
Okay.
Kevin Ryan from Rome, who now lives down in Charlotte, had reached out to me a long time ago during college football season and said, "Hey, I got a guess it would be great for you." I said, "Okay, who you got?" Greg McElroy, the former quarterback that played at Alabama for Nick Saban, who's been on game day, does a lot of college football analyst, a lot of stuff for them, is going to jump on with me. I'm just trying to work out a time for him. So we'll be talking some college football with him. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wow, that's wild. Sounds awesome.
But Statman, appreciate you as always, and hopefully we'll get the whole crew back on here eventually. I know Nick's got a game today. Pags has hockey on the weekends. Yeah. We normally have an AAU game on the weekends. Today we didn't have anything, so it was fun to jump back on with you and talk some sports.
Oh, definitely. Yep, it's been a little bit, but yeah, it's good to be back. Yep.
So, all right, man, keep in touch.
Yep, we'll do.
All right, buddy. Always great to have the Statman on. Statman and I started this thing many years ago. Coach Brown never disappoints. I can't thank him enough for always coming on when I reach out to him. Even if he win or lose, he's always been gracious to come on during the season and even in the off season. I know we'll talk more college basketball with him as the season goes. Thanks to Coach St. Croix, too, for coming on and talking about CNY Savage. He's done a lot of great things with that program for the area. And again, that's for all age groups. So I want to thank him. On behalf of Coach Medicis, Coach Pags, a Statman, and myself, we appreciate you tuning in today to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. You can follow it on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can also now follow it on Spotify as well for the podcast listeners. So have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you again next week here on the Mohawk Valley Sports.